Overhead power lines along Kimball Avenue conflict with some of the new proposed sports lighting and fencing at Seco Park. City staff are recommending burial of those overhead power lines, which could cost around $800,000 and is not currently part of the rest of planned Seco Park improvements. Assistant City Manager Wyatt Thompson says this could be achieved through bond and interest payments, then incorporated into the city's future funding strategy. At Tuesday's meeting, Commissioner Peter Opelt said he favored the proposal.
Yeah, I think whenever we have an opportunity to bury any overhead lines, we should probably do that. Just reduce the risk of it falling over and, it makes things safer.
Mayor Wynn Butler says if those power lines weren't buried, the city could incur additional costs.
But also, if you shift these fields, it may drive up the cost, $400,000, half of what it would cost to bury that. So you got to balance all that. So I think generally the commission would prefer they get buried, but we want to know the details of the money end of it.
No action was taken as last night's meeting was a work session. The city also heard from Manhattan-Ogden Superintendent Eric Reed, who says the school district is intending to be a willing financial partner as much as it can be. U.S. Senator Jerry Moran announced Tuesday that more than $33 million in federal funding will support construction of a new facility at K-State Salina for many of its educational programs.
One is the construction. Money to construct the Aerospace Innovation and Training Hub here at K-State Salina, and the money for operations, research, and facilities to fund a full-motion simulator.
Included in the funding is a $5.5 million grant, which will provide aviation training equipment to amplify the school's pilot training partnership with the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. K-State President Richard Linton says they are training the next generation and ensuring the state's workforce needs are met with top talent and emerging industry leaders.
The facilities, research, and educational offerings that will be realized from this funding will enable Kansas State University to be a critical partner in advancing the technologies that will fuel the aerospace industry.
University officials say the Aerospace Education Hub will house the Kansas AAM Flight Test and Training Center, the Advanced Composites Laboratory, and the Aviation Maintenance Training Center. Meanwhile, on the Manhattan campus Tuesday, K-State began the process of sharing initial ideas of a new facilities master plan. A town hall meeting was held at the K-State Alumni Center, with additional town halls scheduled this week on the Salina campus today and the Olathe campus tomorrow. Associate Vice President of Facilities Casey Lauer says while the previous plan adopted in 2012 was a good one, it was rigid and static.
As we started facing things like, divestment of space and infrastructure, we couldn't really rely on that plan to help us make those decisions. And so this is one where we'll have that latitude, and so we'll keep it refreshed every year.
A number of students weighed in at yesterday's town hall, including fifth-year business student Maddie Carey.
I think it was good to hear from what other people think about certain things like green spaces, historic buildings, how to preserve as well as restore them.
The university is just beginning the master plan process, which is expected to take up to 12 to 18 months to complete. Pottawatomie County Attorney Sherry Shook gave her opening statement Monday in the second trial of 22-year-old McCain Farr of Wamego, who's charged with distribution of a controlled substance causing death. Farr is accused of distributing fentanyl to Thomas DeLoach of Manhattan in March 2023. DeLoach died of an apparent drug overdose at a Manhattan hotel on East Highway 24. Farr also was convicted of the same charge in December for the September 2021 death of Jason Ebert. Shook told jurors they would be hearing a lot during the trial on aiding and abetting, issues brought up during jury selection. Farr's defense attorney, Matthew Cohen, told jurors in his opening statement there's no evidence of Farr's connection to the drugs, stating it was another defendant who distributed them to DeLoach. The trial continues in Judge Jeff Elder's courtroom through the rest of this week. Republican state lawmakers have approved a bill that would require Kansas abortion providers to ask their patients why they want to terminate their pregnancies and then report the answers to the state. The Senate passed the measure on a 27-13 vote Tuesday. The House approved it earlier this month. It now heads to Governor Laura Kelly's desk. She's a strong abortion rights supporter and expected to veto the bill. However, supporters appear to have exactly the two-thirds majorities they would need to override a veto. Lawmakers are pursuing the measure, even though Kansas affirmed abortion rights in a statewide vote. The state is also poised to require internet pornography sites to verify that visitors are adults. It would join Texas and a handful of other states despite concerns about privacy and how broadly the law could be applied. The proposal in Kansas cleared the Republican-controlled legislature Tuesday after the House approved it on a 92-31 vote. The state Senate approved the measure unanimously last month. It now heads to Governor Laura Kelly. At least 8 states, including Texas, have enacted such laws since 2022, and more than 20 are considering them, including Oklahoma. Supporters say they're protecting kids from pornography.
K-Man's Morning News continues with a look at your sports headlines on this Wednesday morning. Good morning. I'm Troy Coverdale. The college sports communicators have named a trio of K-State basketball players to their academic all-district teams. Women's standouts Aoka Lee and Serena Sundell, and men's basketball's Tyler Perry are now eligible to be named academic All-Americans when the CSC names those teams next month. Kentucky Athletic Director Mitch Barnhart confirming on social media last night that John Calipari will return as that school's men's basketball coach, despite calls for his firing following the Wildcats' third consecutive early exit from the NCAA tournament. Barnhart posted Tuesday night on the platform formerly known as Twitter that he and the Hall of Fame coach have talked about the direction of the men's program. Kentucky was a 3 seed going into the tournament, but fell 80-76 to 14 seed Oakland in the first round Thursday. The Wildcats have only gone 1-4 in their last 5 NCAA tournament games. NFL owners Tuesday approved a new rule that will take what essentially had become a dead play and make it an integral part of the game again. Kickoff returns are being overhauled to mirror rules that were used in the XFL the previous 2 years, but not completely, says Saints special teams coordinator Darren Ritzie.
We felt, John and myself, when we first started this thing, we felt like they got a lot of things right, and there was a lot of really good things about the XFL. At the same time, we felt there was a lot of things that they could have done better. And so I think that's when you look at the modifications we've made, and with this hybrid kickoff, you're going to see some drastic differences.
Among the changes, any ball caught in the field of play must be returned. Under current rules, any touchback or if a returner calls for a fair catch in the field of play results in the receiving team getting the ball at the 25. Now for a standard kickoff, the ball will be marked at the 35 with the 10 kick coverage players lined up at the opposing 40, 5 on each side of the field. Cowboys special teams coach John Fossil.
The biggest benefit we're going to get from this, because this isn't just NFL, this is hopefully going for a long time, is the college potentially of adopting it, high school adopting it, flag football adopting it, like Riz said. I think that would probably make us the most proud of seeing this go to the other parts of football, where today I feel like we made football better, and I feel like we made football safer, and that's going to trickle down to a whole bunch of other levels.
Owners also voted yesterday to move the trade deadline back 1 week to the Tuesday following the end of Week 9. They'll also allow a team to elevate a bona fide quarterback from the practice squad an unlimited amount of times to serve as a team's emergency third quarterback. American athletic trainers are getting behind guidelines that could allow students who sustain concussions to return to class and physical activity sooner. A statement published Tuesday in the Journal of Athletic Training encourages practitioners to consider the psychological effects on students if they're kept out of school while recovering. The statement says, quote, after a short period of cognitive rest, student athletes can begin the return-to-learn process by physically returning to school, end quote. The guidelines give a similar time frame for a concussed athlete to resume light exercise as long as their symptoms are stable and the effort does not make them much worse. Earlier guidance on concussions had recommended total rest and minimal stimulation until symptoms went away. Researchers fear that such isolation can be bad for mental health, especially for teenage students. The Arizona Diamondbacks and pitcher Jordan Montgomery have agreed on a $25 million one-year contract with a vesting option for 2025. If Montgomery makes at least 10 starts this coming season, the option would become guaranteed at $20 million, and the left-hander would gain the right to opt out. The addition for the D-backs bulks up the defending NL champions rotation just days before the regular season begins. Montgomery pitched for Texas against Arizona in the World Series last year. He went 4-2 with a 2.79 ERA and 11 starts for the Rangers down the stretch, before then spinning a 3-1 mark with a 2.90 ERA in 6 postseason games. Washington is hiring athletic director Pat Chun away from Apple Cup rival Washington State, reaching across the state to fill its AD job about a week after it surprisingly came open. The person spoke that told the AP about the decision. It did so on the condition of anonymity as the deal was still being finalized. Washington was preparing an official announcement. Washington was stung last week when athletic director Troy Dannon left after less than 6 months on the job to take over at Nebraska. His introductory news conference in Lincoln was on Tuesday. The school quickly then targeted Chun, who had been at Washington State since 2018. He also has experience in the Big Ten, having spent 15 years at Ohio State as its executive associate athletic director. The game coming up this afternoon at 4. Tomorrow, we've got Royals baseball to begin the afternoon as opening day is upon us tomorrow. The Royals to open the season with the Twins, with coverage beginning at 2:30 tomorrow afternoon here on K-Man. We follow that up with coverage of K-State baseball as the Wildcats will take on Texas for 3 starting tomorrow evening at 6 out at Toynton Family Stadium. That coverage to begin then tomorrow evening at 5:30 on News Radio KMAN.